week of preseason games kicking off in the NFL. There will be football. Colts, Ravens, Bengals, Eagles, Raiders, and Seahawks. We've got you covered. Stephen Holder is covering the Colts quarterback battle. It's worth talking about. But I want to begin with Ben Baby, who is following a pair of storylines for the Bengals. And Ben, let's start there. What more can you tell us about the plan for Joe Burrows and the Bengals starters tonight?
Yeah, Matt, I think the plan's going to be for them to play about a quarter-ish, give or take, according to Bengals coach Zach Taylor, because right now the Bengals are throwing everything they can to figure out how to start the season right. And this year that means playing those starters a little bit more. And I've talked to Joe Burrow extensively about this over the course of the offseason, and he noted the importance of getting out there in preseason games compared to maybe a joint practice. And the reason is Burrow needs to feel that pass rush coming at him. He knows he's live in the pocket, which means he can get hit a little bit. He needs to feel how to get the ball out fast, feel getting to the game the night before, and how to scramble a little bit. So how Burrow adapts through that will be huge, especially with his receivers.
Look, when you said, I thought you were going to say a series-ish, not a quarter-ish. So that's big for the Bengals. And they haven't gotten off to a 2-0 start since 2018. So after that point, they need to get it going as the open season at the Browns at home against the Jags. Let's switch gears now. One person who won't be playing tonight, Trey Hendrickson, has been at camp but not practicing. He's got the contract dispute going on. Where do things stand between him and the franchise?
Matt, it's definitely been quiet. Everyone I've checked with over this, really leading up to right before we went on air, haven't heard of any movement about this contract on either side. I think it's Trey living up to his word of not being a distraction out here at practice. He wants to play on a new deal and has no intentions of suiting up until that happens. But in the meantime, we have seen him out there mentoring a lot of the younger players, such as rookie Shamar Stewart, Miles Murphy, another young player, and getting to know his new teammates on that side of the ball a little bit better. And I asked Zach Taylor about Trey imparting that wisdom on those young guys. And he said it comes with the territory. He expects a veteran to be able to do that. And Trey's doing everything he can to get ready while they try to iron out that contract extension that he's looking for.
I'd say this. He's there. He's just not practicing. This could be a wild distraction, but you almost have to give him credit for not making it that as he continues to mentor the pass rushers on his latest. Thank you.
Matt, Colts, Ravens, they'll also face each other tonight. Of course, Indy's trying to determine who will be their starting quarterback for the season. So let's bring in a man who has the answer. Our Colts reporter, Stephen Holder. All right, Stephen, what is the plan for both Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones tonight?
So Anthony Richardson will start tonight's game. He gets the first crack in this quarterback battle in terms of preseason action, and he will play probably most of the first half. According to Coach Shannon, about a quarter and a half, so we expect him to be out there for quite a bit, and then Daniel Jones will likely finish the first half. They'll swap roles next week, and Daniel Jones will get to start against the Green Bay Packers. So it's a big night for Richardson. He's under scrutiny here, but I've seen a more mature approach from him in training camp, and that's served him well so far. He's definitely been better with his technique and locked in on the details. We'll see what the next step is tonight.
Okay, so that's the plan for tonight, and then obviously the next preseason game. Quickly, when can we expect a decision, though? Who's going to be the starter week one?
I think we're at least maybe 10 days to 2 weeks away from that, because they're going to let this play out at least through that next preseason game, which is next weekend. So they're going to take their time. They have vowed to not rush this, and I think they're just going to let these two guys duke it out until they have to make a decision. They're not in any rush to do it.
I'm sure there are also going to be some eyes on their first-round draft pick, Tyler Warren. What have you seen out of the tight end out of Penn State?
What a welcome addition for the Colts. Look, this team last season was last in the NFL in catches per game from their tight ends, so the production was not there. Tyler Warren has come in, and they are definitely making him a featured component of this offense. You're going to see him use the full breadth of his talent. We saw it at Penn State. He threw the ball, caught the ball, ran the ball. He's going to do it all, and he has been in training camp, and they are definitely going to make him a centerpiece of their offense. Haven't gotten nearly enough out of that tight end position, but they expect that to change in 2025.
Yeah, haven't gotten a lot out of that position since Dallas Clark putting up big numbers there for Indianapolis. By the way, the Colts, they opened the season against the Dolphins at home. They have not won a season opener in 11 seasons, by the way. That's Stephen Holder with the latest. Thank you, Stephen.
All right, customers, continue the preseason talk. A game tonight features a homecoming with new Raiders coach Pete Carroll returning to Seattle, where he won a Super Bowl in his 14 years there. He's not the only one, though. Vegas quarterback Geno Smith resurrected his career with the Seahawks before being acquired by the Raiders. So lots of history in this one, which is perfect for our NFL analyst Mina Kimes. I'm sure she's got that Seattle blood still pumping through her with all of these former Seahawks playing tonight. So, Mina, when you look at this game between the Raiders and Seahawks, there's a lot to watch, but what will you be watching?
I am really excited to see this Raiders offense. Chip Kelly, for NFL fans who haven't been paying attention, and Matt, I know you know this being so close to college football, he is not the same coach he was when he was in the league. What you saw at Ohio State was one of the more creative, exciting offenses in football. They huddle now, by the way. Lots of tight ends, use of 12 personnel, very creative and diverse run game. I think we're going to see all of that with the Raiders because he has the pieces. This could be one of the most exciting two tight end pairings in the NFL in Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. Of course, Ashton Genty joins this rushing attack that was near the bottom of the league last year. And you have a quarterback in Geno Smith who was a massive upgrade from what the Raiders had last year in terms of his accuracy and aggressiveness throwing downfield. So I'm interested in getting a first look at that because I think for Raiders fans, that's where optimism lies this season in this offense, which is dramatically revamped from last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because if you look at the offseason and some of the big moves that we paid attention to, perhaps quietly, Vegas and Chip Kelly might end up being the best one. We'll see if that manifests itself throughout the season. You will be joining us in just a bit. We'll talk to you then. Jacksonville Saturday. Aaron Rodgers, unlikely to play, but he said he was willing after rookie quarterback Will Howard went down with a finger. 41-year-old last played in an exhibition game 2 years ago for the Jets. Mike Tomlin spoke today at SportsCenter with his plan for Rodgers at the start.
I just feel comfortable with what I've seen from those guys for this portion of the process that makes me comfortable in saying that they won't play this week. Next week may be different. We really respect the days that are this process, and I try not to make plans with broad strokes, but really kind of in more smaller increments. And so the decision not to play some of those guys that I mentioned really was based on what I've seen from them in this environment to this point.
Okay, let's welcome back our NFL analyst, Mina Kimes. And Mina, we just heard from Tomlin, told the media that Aaron Rodgers will not play in the preseason opener. Probably no surprise there. So whenever Rodgers does play in the preseason, what are you going to be focusing on?
I'm really interested in seeing the connection that he has or doesn't have with DK Metcalf because this is not a very deep wide receiver group. The offense has to go through Metcalf. And we have seen over the years with Aaron Rodgers the importance of chemistry and when it's not there, how he can get frustrated. And DK, he's incredibly talented, and I think he does some things that will pair well with Rodgers in terms of being a ball winner outside, both on short and long, deeper developing routes. But at times in Seattle, there was a lack of nuance to the route running, and you saw that crop up from time to time. So I'm curious to see early on whether or not they're on the same page, and if they're not, how both sides react to any miscues.
By the way, second segment, I mean, I want to be talking about ex-Seahawks. It was not planned. It was just purely coincidence. Other side of the matchup, the Jags, they're going to play their starters. That includes Travis Hunter. He will play on both sides of the ball. So, Mina, what are you excited to see from Hunter this preseason game?
Man, everything. I mean, this is one of the most exciting experiments, and I'm going to call it that, we've had in the NFL in some time. I don't think we're going to learn a ton about Travis Hunter, the DB, in the preseason. You know, defensively, everything's pretty vanilla, so I don't think however much he plays, he'll be challenged the same way he will once the regular season kicks off. But offensively, and that's where they're primarily going to use him as a receiver, I'm interested in seeing, one, how he pairs with Thomas Jr. if he plays, and also whether or not he is taking continued steps forward as a route runner. I thought Travis Hunter was the most talented receiver in this draft, but he still had a ways to go in terms of his development, and I think under Liam Cohen is going to be a tremendous opportunity for him to really flourish on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think experiment is the perfect way to put this because we just don't know because we haven't seen a talented two-way player like this enter the league in decades, maybe not ever. Let's keep things in the AFC. Let's put a training camp now where we get these joint practices. And then the first direct action between teams, just to get your own guys. At an hours of work, hot weather, temperatures 50. Patriots coach Mike Vrabel got a close-up look at that yesterday. I mean, he used to scrum when he was a player. There was a scuffle between the Pats and Commanders, came away with a cut on his cheek, needed an ice pack afterwards. Drake May and other players got a kick out of their coach mixing it up. Take a listen.
That's what we're trying to build, I think. And it starts with the coach, starts with the head coach, the intensity, bringing it every day, taking no crap when we're out there on the field. Yeah, man, he's right there with us, man. I think that player comes out in him a little bit too. But you got to love a coach that loves to compete, has those competitive juices just like us.
He said, hey, you should see the other guy. So, I laughed at that.
I love that he did this, Nina. What do you think of Vrabel hopping into a scrum?
Yeah, obviously the former players love it. That's what matters most. Vrabel, of course, is a former player himself, and I think they really respond to that. But I want to be clear about something. Yes, he's getting his hands dirty. Yes, he's a player's coach. Mike Vrabel is one of the more brilliant game managers when it comes to situational football in the league. That, to me, can't get lost when we look at him being this player's coach and tough guy. He has a very big brain as well, and that's going to really help the Patriots.
Yeah, we see that with Dan Campbell, too. He's a walking soundbite, but he's actually a really good coach as well. So we see these former players, they get in the scrums, they love football. We see it every practice and every week. You love football. We see it every show. Mina Kimes with us. Mina, thank you.
So you got the Steelers, you got the Jags. They begin the preseason on Saturday, Matt. Then you got the Colts, Ravens, Bengals, Eagles, Raiders, Seahawks, all in action tonight. So let's bring in our sports betting analyst, Aaron Dolan. All right, Edie, what are you looking at from the betting perspective in these preseason games that will take place this evening?
Well, from a betting perspective, the thing that stands out to me, of course, is going to be the line movement and line swings that we've seen in all three of these games. This is not typical if you're looking at a regular NFL schedule for, let's say, week to week. Preseason is very hard to handicap. Again, why we're seeing some of these big swings of 7 to 8 points, most notably in Cincinnati versus Philadelphia. That's the one game that I'm targeting. I would lay the points with the Cincinnati Bengals here because we know one thing, and that's that the starters are going to be playing probably more than the first quarter. So that's the advantage that you have, knowing that some of these guys are going to be out there for some amount of time. As for the Philadelphia Eagles, we're not really sure what their game plan is going to be, but the one thing that is certain is that Philadelphia is 4-7-1 against the spread since Sirianni took over as head coach in 2021. So when handicapping these games, again, it's not easy by any means. We're seeing these huge swings, but the one that I'll be betting tonight would be I'd play it with the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah,
that's a really good point. Matt pointed out, hey, look, the Bengals have not started off the season very well as of late, and that's one of the reasons why Joe Burrow and those starters playing a lot tonight. Aaron Dolan with the latest. Thank you.
Preseason Week 1 NFL fun slate, including the Jags and Steelers Saturday in Jacksonville. All you have to do is look at recent history. Aaron Rodgers won't play. His coach confirmed that today. Quarterback questions will be intriguing with all of them. And, of course, the Jag superstar rookie Travis Hunter will be one to keep an eye on. But we want to stay with the Steelers because we're bringing in our Steelers reporter, Brooke Pryor. And, Brooke, no Aaron Rodgers on Saturday. What can you tell us about the plan for the Steelers quarterbacks for the preseason opener on Saturday?
Well, Matt, like you said, no Aaron Rodgers. Also, no Will Howard, the rookie 6th-round pick, fractured his pinky in his throwing hand, so he won't be playing in this preseason game, but Mike Tomlin didn't rule him out for the rest of the preseason, but that would be a pretty quick recovery from a broken pinky finger. So on Saturday, it will be Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. And by the way, the Steelers just signed veteran quarterback Logan Woodside, who has experience with Arthur Smith. The two played together, or rather, Woodside was coached by Smith in Tennessee, but Tomlin said, look, realistically, it's going to be really hard to get him up to speed. So I would expect to see a whole lot of Mason Rudolph and a whole lot of Skylar Thompson.
Remember, until Rodgers, they were going to ride all season with Mason Rudolph. He certainly has the experience there in that offense. And to be expected, the beginning of training camp, a bit uneven for Rodgers in the offense. What kind of progress have you seen from that unit the past few days?
Aaron Rodgers told me yesterday that that's kind of what he expected, that the defense has an edge when they get out to training camp and put the pads on, that they're naturally going to come together faster, especially because this unit has so much experience. But Rodgers said he feels like in the last maybe week and a half, the offense has really turned a corner. They're gelling more. That's what I've seen out at practice, particularly his connections with wide receiver Roman Wilson, also DK Metcalf. The two have had some nice connections during 7 shots. But I got a note, in those 2-minute drills, Rodgers has yet to be successful and score. He's been intercepted in at least the last 2 2-minute drills. The one before that, they failed to move the ball at all. So still a work in progress, but he said he's got an open door policy here in his dorm room at camp, and that's helping kind of foster this relationship between him and his wide receivers, Ben Skoranek isn't even knocking anymore.
Yeah, at this point, it's like, look, you got to get this thing right in the next few weeks for the regular season opener. And, Brooke, I don't want you to go anywhere because there's something near and dear to your heart that I
Titans are in Tampa for a joint practice before their game with the Buccaneers on Saturday. It'll be the first time we'll get to see the #1 overall pick Cam Ward throwing against someone other than his teammates. Titans head coach Brian Callahan says the starters will see time in the first preseason game. Here's Cam on his progress, and it's new on SportsCenter.
Yeah, it is starting to click, and it's really just come with more reps that I get, seeing different looks and knowing where the ball needs to go versus a certain look. And then I also got, good receiving core with Red, Van, and Lockett, even the backups and Chim. They help me out a lot just watching film with me, letting them know what I see on the field and where I need them to get to. So, I'm excited to where we're going to go, and I'm just ready to keep building this relationship we got.
The Titans are looking for some help in that passing game after finishing last season toward the bottom of the league in yards thrown, interceptions, total QBR, thanks to the tandem of Will Levis and Ryan Tannehill. Cam to the rescue. He finished last collegiate season top 2 in the FBS in passing yards, QBR, and touchdowns thrown at the U.